All right, guys. So I am not even handed, but I'm going to try to show you guys why I blocked that guy who did the Reiki healing. The guy who talks about you're going to get some kind of healing or whatever. All right. So first, I got a friend request. I said yes. And then we got the message of, love and light, peace, and all that. And then I said, thank you. I told him I appreciate, the things that he does. And then he was like, he got, what does it say here? I was actually directed to you by my spiritual insight through the power of ancestors and all that, right? So, and he asked me, did I ever have like a professional, uh, whatever, about my life? And I said no. And then he said, and I told him, like, I felt connected to the videos because I felt, like I knew him. And then he said, um, would you like to have like a reading? And I said, it sounds interesting. And I said, yes. And then he said, what kind of reading? And then he was like offering all these different kind of readings, right? And he said just for a donation. Now, donation, I don't know what that means. Like, because a penny is a penny a donation. Like, I'm pretty sure most people would not give a penny. So anyway, I just asked him, well, what do you do? PayPal? So, and then I said, well, I don't really know what to choose because I'm pretty much, I'm set, in my life. I'm pretty set. And then he was like, the ancestor told him that a general reading would be something good for me, right? So then I was like, there's something that I would like more than a reading. And then he was like, okay, well, that's not a problem. Then I gave him my information. So now y'all got my information. And then I said, then he was like, okay, we have a temple and the donation is whatever it is right here. All right. So if y'all ever have that show up, that's the donation thing. And then I said, I'd rather a cord cutting, help me cut a cord than a reading. And then he was like, well, that's not a problem. So then I told him I would get back to him. Now, y'all know I don't do anything. I do not do anything unless I get the go ahead from the Holy Ghost. Okay. I'm saying Holy Ghost for y'all because I don't really call him the Holy Ghost, but that's just a way for you guys to know what I'm talking about. The Most High. So I said, hold on, let me see. I said, I don't want anything without it. I don't do anything without an okay from my guides. All right. So then he said he understood. And then he said, but I was already done with your reading. And I was like, wow, I don't know what to say about that. I do not need a reading, because this is what I had already said. And then he said, okay, but just wasted my energy. Now, y'all know, if you know anything about energy is never wasted. Energy is, it flows out and it flows back. So energy doesn't ever just dissipate. Okay. So anyway, and I asked him, why did he do it? Because he was like, well, he did it already. I don't believe it anyway. But I'm like, well, why? And then he said, because I have consulted the reading done since. And I was like, huh? And then from the question mark, can you make a little donation for it? And then he said, or I should send your reading. And then I said, I will make a donation if I receive guidance on my end. I do not want or need a reading, because I had told him I don't want one. I don't need one. We cool. And I said I wanted your help with something else. And I said so before. In any case, I'm happy to donate to you if I receive the go ahead on my end, which I had not, right? And then he said, okay, when are you making a donation? I'll send your reading now. I said again, I do not want a reading. And then I told him, no energy is ever wasted, though. We know this. Talking to him like a person who should know. You doing Reiki healing, you ought to know what energy is and what it does. And then I said, anyhow, I'll say goodbye for now. Have a lovely day. So then he was like, okay, I understand. What guidance do you need? What aspect of life do you need guidance? I'll help you, let me know. And then I was like, I'll have to log out now, but please take a moment to review our conversation here and you will be able to see what I wanted. Take it easy. And so that's me saying, I'm like, I'm leaving. Look at this, how he ended this. Y'all, with the exclamation marks, it's too much for me. So even though I actually was like, when I said take it easy, I was logging out, but then I got another hit on the notification, and when I saw that with the why are you logging out, I was like, man, block. So I blocked him.